Hello gamers, welcome back, or in case you are new here, I'm Nkaziel and I want to talk about the biggest scam of 2023, a game called The Day Before. This game was announced as an MMO zombie survival a few years back. It showed some very promising footage that got a lot of people excited, and as a result it made it to the top of the wishlisted games on Steam. This is all the remotely positive information that can be said about this so-called game. In my opinion, this game is a total scam, and we are going to talk about what you can do if you have been affected by this, as well as why this is a scam and what you should keep an eye out for in the future, so these people or other people like this never manage to scam again. Let's start with what you can do if you have been scammed by this game. Well, Steam will offer refunds regardless of the time played. So the solution is fairly simple. You can head to Steam webpage and go through the Steam support form and request a refund. Luckily, for scam projects like this, Steam has a very robust refund policy, and the only thing you would have lost is some time. $40 might not matter enough for some of you to go through the trouble, but I think you should ask for a refund anyway and not let people that do this get away with it. It's just so in the future it will discourage all other scammers. Next, I would like to talk about why I think it's a scam and the other red flags around this project. There are a lot of controversies, and because of that I will not go into too much detail. First, they didn't register the name of the game as a trademark, which ultimately resulted in the game being taken off Steam for a period of time. This not only is unprofessional, but also shows a lack of knowledge when it comes to developing games. By the time a game is made public, it should already be registered as a trademark to avoid exactly this kind of situation. Next, some of the more recent trailers they showed were heavily inspired to the point of almost being a one-to-one copy of other trailers made by AAA companies. The point where I stopped following this project was when they showcased a gameplay trailer this year that looked nothing like the original trailers. At this point, I couldn't have called the game a scam, because all they displayed is very unprofessional behavior that just made me lose interest in the game. But the situation got a lot worse. The constant delays, them actually looking for volunteers to do work and not actually paying professionals, are also some red flags around this project. Sadly, all this is not even the worst part. They finally released the game on the 8th of December this year, and it had an unreal amount of problems, as it was nothing like what was promised. First of all, it wasn't an MMO, it was an extraction shooter. The whole gameplay loop was mediocre and a complete disappointment. The game ran extremely poorly, had a small map, it had very few and extremely poorly implemented and optimized features. It had limited servers that can only host 32 people, and overall people weren't even able to connect to them properly or have an enjoyable experience once they did. Almost all assets found in-game were bought from the Unreal Engine store, which in itself is not a problem, since that's exactly why they exist, so smaller developers can save time and money. That being said, when we take a look at everything these so-called developers did, I think it is quite clear that they misrepresented the game on purpose. I said this already a few times, but it gets even worse. 4 days after they released the game, they announced they are going to close the studio and basically stop developing the game, instead of working to redeem themselves and maybe potentially one day have a game worth playing. But they decided to drop the game altogether. When they announced this, they voiced that they worked on the game for 5 years, and all I can say about this is that the game can be replicated in under 1 month if a dozen professionals work on it, considering almost all assets in game were brought from the Unreal Engine store. Though I have my doubts that a game this bad can be made by anyone that is even remotely competent. This is the point where I believe this officially became a scam. I think it's almost impossible for such a decision to be taken in only 4 days, no matter how bad the reception of the game is. If you truly want to deliver a game, you would at least try for a few weeks or maybe a few months before abandoning the project. To me, it looks like this was planned. They just wanted to deliver an asset flip and make a quick buck because of all the interest the game garnered. What I think they didn't foresee was that the Steam will issue refunds to anyone regardless of playtime, and their scam didn't work. So maybe them trying to do this quick cash grab actually worked against them. What I truly hope is that they will owe money and will hopefully not be able to recover from this scam and never make games again. This is obviously wishful thinking on my part. This brings us to the last point I wanted to touch on, and that is how to protect ourselves against scams like this. Of course, whenever these two clowns that made this game ever announce something, we shouldn't care about it. But what about other developers? And I think the solution is very simple. If an indie or a studio nobody heard of announces a game that cannot be tested before they ask for money, either by you or at least by some other people, so you can see some footage on YouTube or reviews on other social media, we should just wait before committing our interest or money on them. I think just how most people learn to not support crowdfunded MMOs, especially after projects like Chronicles of Elyria, people should learn to take the work of small studios with a grain of salt. Don't get me wrong, sometimes indie studios create masterpieces. If someone has a wonderful product, they will not mind letting people test it for at least a few hours. An example of this is Enshrouded. They have an amazing product and they have no problems with hosting tests and even providing a demo for people to try out. Whenever someone asks for money before allowing you to see what they actually have to offer, you should simply not support such a project. I also thought what I can do, and personally I've already been doing it, but I will dedicate a bit more time researching the people behind the games I talk about on this channel. Of course, just because someone has a great track record doesn't mean they will deliver an amazing product, but it makes it a bit more likely that they will. At the end of the day, all I can do is advise caution when dealing with indie projects, just like I do when dealing with crowdfunded projects. We are all playing games because we want to have an enjoyable time, and it is so very upsetting when scumbags like this take advantage of the desire of gamers to have a good game. That's really all I wanted to talk about in this video, and I really don't want to drag it on because I dislike talking about negative topics like this. When it comes to gaming, I want to focus on the games that we can have fun in and enjoy, but I still felt it needed to be said. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe. See you in the next one, gamers.